Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, September 10th of 2023. Now I have about 12 pages of notes that I have jotted down during this week of my reflection time. I literally sit down in a quiet place and I ask myself, what does my higher self, my soul, want to share with me today? What does my higher self want me to know? And we have all the answers inside of us, but sometimes we don't get quiet enough to really listen and pay attention and write things down. In fact, I'm going to scroll back and this is what I wrote from yesterday. What does my higher self want to tell me today? I literally wrote that question. And this is something that I heard about a couple weeks ago. And so I started writing this question to myself on a daily basis. What does my higher self want to tell me today? Now, yesterday, after I wrote that sentence down, this is what I wrote. Stay out of fear. You are very safe. Remember that we are all connected and that we are all pure love. Stay in the vibration of love. You are disconnecting from people in your life to make room for bigger and the next expansive chapter. Do small fasts. And I mean, when I wrote that, I knew my body was asking for breaks from food. So do small fasts. I've been wanting to do a long 4-day fast, and I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off for the last few months. So my higher self is saying do small fasts, like take small breaks. Maybe, do a 24-hour fast or skip a couple of meals and then just have a small, breakfast, lunch, and have a small dinner. So do small fasts, drink lots of water, eat less, minimize alcohol, keep walking, keep hiking, and nurture your family. And, this is simple, but a beautiful reminder, right? And then after I wrote nurture your family, I wrote down the name of my husband, my children, my daughter-in-law, my son's girlfriend, and my 2 grandkids. Because this is my immediate family. Now I have a lot of family to nurture, but to me this is really important to pay attention and to nurture the people that are in our lives and our family, and pay attention to that as often as we can. So I have a couple of beautiful quotes I want to start with. I believe we're in a really chosen revolutionary time. So I found a couple of quotes that I want to start with. Now the first one is from a man named Alan Watts, and he's no longer alive, but he wrote many books. He also did lots of lectures. You can find him and some of his clips and stuff on YouTube, and lots of quotes. But here's one that I found this week that I found extremely appropriate. It's this: the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. Perfection, right? The meaning of life is just to be alive. And then the other quote I found this week, I actually had to say this a couple times out loud because this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. So it's written a little bit with a different style, so it's a little bit harder to read than just to read it. So I'm going to do my best not to mess it up. So this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. If there were any one period in time one would desire to be born in, is it not the age of revolution, when old and new stand side by side and admit of being compared, when the energies of all men are searched by fear and by hope, and when the historic glories of the old can be compensated by the rich possibilities of a new era? This time, like all times, is a very good one, if we but know what to do with it. So we live in a time where we can easily, that's the end quote. We live in a time where we can easily fall into the context of constantly judging and placing conditions on the time and experience we have. So think about this. If there is ever a chosen time, and I have said this 100 times, I believe we all chose to come here during this pivotal time, but if there's ever a time in human history when it's the best time to be around and participate in it, it is during a time of revolution, where you get to take, listen to this, when the historic glories of the old can be compensated by the rich possibilities of the new era. How beautiful is that? I mean, that to me is so beautiful. Have you asked yourself, how did we take this turn into a bit of a dystopian feeling of where we live? Like, have you ever, these last 3 years, kind of asked yourself, how did we get here? How do we take this turn into what feels a bit dystopian, right? So it is easy and our natural tendency to start blaming others. So I think what we first do is we start blaming. Well, it's because this political party did this. Now, is some of this stuff true? 100%. But when old systems are crumbling, there's always people who've put these into place and have been trying to keep them going, right? So it's easy and our natural tendency to start blaming others. We have been playing the shame, pride, blame, etc. game. We've been playing this game of guilt, shame, blaming for thousands of years, okay? And you know what, in my opinion, the revolution is, we're done with it, right? But now we live in an age of revolution, okay? And I believe this is one of the biggest revolutionary times of human history, because we have this amazing technology that keeps us connected. We have all of the amazing things that can make life richer and more connected, which is what it's all about. This is not something that will happen outside of us. Okay, so the revolution is something that's going to happen within us. In fact, that just gave me a little bit of goosebumps, just saying that, because it's not about what is happening on the outside. There's a lot of things happening out there, but we get to choose how we perceive it, how we continue to walk through life and continue to realize that we are alive. And one of the biggest things that came through for me this week, because of several different situations with people, was the responsibility that we must take when it comes to the way we make things, that we let things make us feel. How someone responds to us, we get to choose how that makes us feel. Do we get to be a victim? Do we get to blame and reach out in anger that someone made us feel bad? You know, that is not a fun place to be. You know, I've had moments of that. And I've had moments of, you know, blaming the government and blaming people who are responding the way that I don't think they should respond. And I'm sure people have had that same thought at me too. At the end of the day, we get to choose how we feel. It's all an inside job. It's always an inside job. This revolution is a realization that we are the creators of our experience and that no one else is responsible for that. No one else is responsible. Things might get a little tougher on the outside. It's been pretty tough already, but we get to choose our own experience because of the way that we feel. And I feel like the last few weeks, this has been such a common theme that's been coming in over and over and over again. Every time I sit down with this journal and every time I jump on and turn on this video to record this message on Sunday for you. What we experience in the world around us, outside of us, is actually a reflection of what's inside of us. So let me ask you this. Do you remember people who responded completely different than you at the beginning of the pandemic? I would say 100% of us probably know people who responded differently than we did. And it doesn't matter which way you responded, but there were people that were responding in the opposite way. You know, and I've said before, I've lost friends who thought I responded poorly. They didn't like the fact that I wouldn't put a mask on. They didn't like the fact that I didn't want to social distance and, you know, all the stuff. You know, like I said too, I didn't get on an airplane for 2 years because I didn't want to do that. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play that. And I was actually angry at the people who were. So I realize and take responsibility for all the angst that I created for myself, because what other people are doing is none of my business. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to drop little nuggets of truth to people that I would like to have them see maybe a different perspective. I'm not talking about that because I've totally jumped aboard that train. But I'm talking about the anger, the frustration, the blame that I would throw out at people, and it might not even, it was internal blame. It was eternal frustration. It was eternal just kind of just disbelieving and anger, and there was a little bit of external that got thrown out at a couple people who were close to me. But for the most part, it was all an inside job, right? So I'm going to read that again. What we experience in the world around us, outside of us, is actually a reflection from within us. The things that we judge are the things that we continue to attract until we no longer judge the things that we have attracted. Right? The things that we judge are the things that we continue to attract until we no longer judge the things that we have attracted. Release judgment. Release, release. By casting blame and judgment, we are only creating more of what we are blaming and judging. And I actually heard this concept from a person named Robert Edward Grant. This whole concept of a revolution, and how we chose to be here, and not only that, the fact that it's an inside job. And this is something that we know and we maybe think about, but if we really think about the fact that we are literally attracting everything to us that we judge and blame for our issues, for our problems, it's that whole victim mentality. Release that. We often cannot see how the dots in our lives connect until we can see them in retrospect. I will tell you, looking back in retrospect at the way I reacted at the beginning of the pandemic, and most of this was in my attempt to wake other people up to my own perception of what was my reality. I have had some not proud moments, and it's like I said, mostly with a couple of very close people, not out to everyone. I mostly just kind of stayed to myself, but yeah. In fact, it's funny. I'm going to very quickly just bring this up. So in 2019, I took a ton of trips, big trips. I went out of country 5 times. 2 of them were with girlfriends at different times, and they were out of country. They were overseas. And 3 of them were trips with my husband and other people. And one of the last trips that we took was in November of 2019. And by that time, I do love to travel, but I was a little tired. That was a big travel year. And I said when we got home from that trip in about mid-November of 2019, I said to my husband, I don't want to travel at all during 2020. Now, of course, my wish was granted. And if I'm the one who caused all that, I'm sorry. But I found this picture on it. It popped up, of course, how pictures pop up in your memories. And I found this picture of myself in this trip that we took. This was with my sister and her husband, and my husband was the 4 of us. It was such a fun trip. We took a river cruise from Switzerland up to Amsterdam, and it was a 2-week trip. We had so much fun, and one of these pictures showed up, and I looked at this picture of my face, and I thought, that is a face who has no idea what's coming. In fact, I pulled this up so you can see. So there I am. I've got my sunglasses. I can't remember exactly where I am in that picture. I think I'm in Germany somewhere. I've got my phone. I've got this smile on my face. And if I could go back in reflection and have some deeper appreciation for the world that I create, it all happens inside of me prior to going into 2020. I would have saved myself a lot of angst and a lot of blame on a lot of all the stuff that I'm sure many of us have gone through. Now, on the other side of that, I will tell you, looking at my face from, I guess it's almost 3-4 years. Anyway, 2019, 4 years this November. I am grateful for the changes that me is about to go through now out the other side of this. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that, where you think, wow, that was a lot to go through, but I'm so grateful for all the learning and the growth and the reflection that I got to have. So we often cannot see how the dots in our lives connect until we see them in retrospect. Definitely, right? We start to realize that the entire time the universe was happening for us. When we thought it was happening to us, it is all in how we perceive it. Oh my gosh. Like that one, I think, is absolutely beautiful. We can change our lives completely by our perception. Because think about people who walked through that whole time with no angst. They made a choice. They made a choice. And they could have responded and felt exactly the way I felt about all of this is a lot of, I see what's happening, but then I get to choose how I walk through it, because we're going to walk through it regardless, right? So we think we're just going through this life in a happenstance way, and that sometimes it just sucks, okay? We might think that. We all go through suffering and difficult times, and at first we want to blame it on someone else. So I think the thing is that's probably just a knee-jerk reaction that we have as human beings, is we think we're going through this suffering, we're going through these difficult times, and our very first response is we want to find something or someone to blame. It's the government, it's this person, it's that, it's this situation, it's the recession, it's the cost of this, it's my job, it's my boss, it's, our knee-jerk reaction is to first blame something or someone, right? So ask yourself, what did I want to learn from this experience? So instead of beating yourself up about any way you've responded to anything in the past, even if it was just yesterday, even if it was this morning, ask yourself, like sit back for a second, ask yourself, what is it that I wanted to learn from this experience? So maybe destiny is just the free will of the higher self. So maybe the things that are happening is us, our higher self, our consciousness, which is us. We always have that with us. We always have our higher self, which is always rotating in a state of love, right? We always have that. So maybe destiny, these things that are suffering and difficult, is just the free will of the higher self, because there's lessons that we want to learn. And the faster we learn them, the better and more beautiful and easy life can get. So the big thing to remember is that everything is happening for us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. This is about ascension. This is about ascending into love, into higher consciousness. In fact, we all hear about the third dimension. We're in the third dimension, and when is the fifth dimension going to get here? And the thing is, from one moment to the next, you can be literally from the third dimension, which is a lower state of being, a lower state of consciousness, where anger, blame, and shame and all those emotions live. In the very next moment, if you realize where you are, you can literally put yourself in what is called the fifth dimension. They coincide together. We can choose to be in whatever place we choose to be in. And if that sounds like a crazy concept, try it. Literally practice changing your perception of something. It's a pretty beautiful thing to do. And it's a beautiful thing to realize that as we are ascending, we are literally in a time of revolution. This is the time we all chose to be here. And it is happening within each and every one of our hearts. So this is not just something that's happening for us, but it's happening within us. This is kind of a constant theme through this, right? It is about achieving a different way of looking at the world. Look at every situation, look at every person, look at them through the lens of love. It's about perceiving with our hearts instead of our mind. We can use our mind for critical thought, we can use our mind to perceive different things, but when you really tune into that piece of you and look at the world through your heart, it changes everything. If we change our perception of our experience, we absolutely change the world around us. If you don't like what you see, change the way you see it. And of course, there's always that, be the change you want to see in the world. That is like a saying that's been around forever. Look within and ask, why are you given this opportunity to learn? Why am I given this opportunity to learn? And then live in a state of gratitude for it, right? So sometimes we need to remember that we live in the matrix of our own mind. If you get really still and you get really quiet and you literally have nothing but a pen and a notebook, you don't have any technology, you don't have any distraction, you would be surprised at how beautiful and peaceful this world really, really is. We might ask ourselves, what is the purpose of life? So when you get quiet, you might ask yourself, what is the purpose? And why am I here? Why am I here? What if we are here to fall in love with this place, this earth, this experience, good music, getting up and dancing, getting in a swimming pool, whatever it is we're able to do or whatever it is we desire to do. What if our purpose is to fall in love with being here in this experience? That's a pretty beautiful purpose. And I believe that all of us can absolutely get there as quick as it takes to blink or turn a page or to simply change the way we see the world. As we learn to love everyone and accept them, we are literally replacing fear with gratitude. For every single moment that we experience, to savor it, to drink it in, and remember that we are here for love. Fear and judgment kills the love frequency. So the moment we drop into fear, the moment we drop into judgment, that vibe of love it kind of kills it. But here's the thing, we can immediately get it back. And we need to remember that. So we are here, so we who are fully awakened to who we really are, that is the revolutionary part of it. And there again is no judgment on where anyone is on their path. But the fact that we are awakening to all of these things, that's the revolution. And that's how things change. So be the change you want to see in the world. And that is where I'm going to end this today, because I think that when we perceive the world differently and we walk through it with non-judgment and non-fear, then everything else falls into place for us. We can look at what other people are doing and not judge it. We don't have to judge what other people are doing. And we don't have to judge other situations. This is, I think that it's going to keep getting better and better and better. And to say that I am beyond grateful for everything that I have experienced, not just these last 3.5 years, but the whole 62 years that I've been on this planet. To say I'm grateful for that is a massive understatement. I wouldn't go back to that woman from almost 4 years ago who hadn't experienced all of that I went through. Do I want to do it again? No, I don't want to do it again. I want to go through with whatever's coming up, whatever is coming up in the next few months, in the next year, in the next couple of years, whatever's coming up for me, I want to look at it from a different lens. I want to perceive this world and all the people and experiences that I come in contact with it from a completely different lens, the lens of love, and not the lens of fear or judgment. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to make the choice not to. And I invite you to do exactly the same. So I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. At the end of this, I'm going to tell you, which is right now, I'm actually out of town this weekend. I filmed this video a couple days ago. My husband, his brother, is turning 60. So we are out of town to celebrate his 60th birthday, which is amazing. So I hope your day and your week is filled with amazing perceptions of the power you hold to change your life from within, and you can change your external life so big simply by the way you look at it. So subscribe to this channel if you're not. Hit the thumbs up. Give me a comment. I'd love to know what you think of this, because I think this is a beautiful, revolutionary time to be alive. So thanks for tuning in today, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time.